Salam and welcome to Somali Dispatch's YouTube channel. For all Somali-related news and interviews, please visit us at somalidispatch.com. I'm Abdulqadir Guled. Somalia's federal government this week ordered the shutdown of Al-Shabaab affiliated sites, accusing them of spreading the militant propaganda. The federal government, with local militias, have also been waging a fierce fight against Al-Shabaab in central Somalia. To discuss this and other issues, we've contacted two astute Somali political analysts and writers, Quays Irby and Osman Abdullahi. They come to us from UK and Minneapolis, respectively. Gentlemen, first of all, welcome to SomaliDispatch.com.
Thank you, Abdulqadir, for having us.
Quays Irby, before we move on to the next question, what would you respond and how would you respond to what Osman Abdullahi just laid out?
Okay, so I am really excited because I have never had a discussion like this that is almost baseless. You know, the argument from the opposition is just not so credible, and unfortunately, it's not, you know, nothing towards or against my friend, but he said he'd written a paper. We look forward to reading it. But if your paper is addressing things like this or is kind of promoting this kind of idea, I just think it's not great. As a Somali nation, it's the time to come together. So I'll address a couple of things that he said. Number one, Somali government has collapsed because of this kind of issues. No, I'll tell you right now, and a lot of people will agree with me, Somali government in the past have used pressure tactics to apply into the population that they should be looking after. There has been absolutely a temperature from everybody that everybody's got fed up to the point that they no longer want to be controlled by this kind of government. And when everybody uses, you know, scaring tactics or pressure tactics, ultimately that government fails. And what we are seeing right now, in similarity to that government, is that Al-Shabaab is trying to scare everybody. So everybody, you know, fears from them and therefore obeys to their rules. And that's not going to work. We're seeing them killing, you know, elders. We're seeing them killing, you know, people who have not committed any crimes, people from specific tribes to kind of, you know, create fear. That is not going to work. Oppressing the population is not going to last any longer. It's not about how long, it's not about when, but definitely you're going to fail if that's the tactics you want to use to stay in control. So that's how the previous government failed. The population came against them. We know what happened. Number two, you said individuals in this government are Al-Shabaab. We still have no evidences, and I would, you know, refrain anybody using something like this, you know, in front of the media to kind of, because it becomes something that helps Al-Shabaab. When we are using information that has no evidences, we know some previous government members has used this. So unless you kind of following up what they said, it's not a good way to kind of say things like that. Ma'awsley, if they are great, why they have not been incorporated into the Somali army forces? Listen, everything has a time. Right now, the time has not allowed that. The government is in power for 3 months, maximum 4 months. They are already taking the initiatives. They are already showing leadership. Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud has been 15 days in power when he announced a war against the Al-Shabaab, the terrorist group. Farmajo has been in power for 5 years and has not done anything against Al-Shabaab. Basically, he's even invested in them, if you like, because how can they be taking taxes from the government? How can they be, you know, continue to take taxes from Bakara market and everywhere in the capital city? And you are the government that is based there. So if Hassan Sheikh gets time, right now, we know from his action is things are building up. If he gets the time, once the war is won, we are very confident that these Ma'awsley will be incorporated into the Somali armed forces. We have seen examples. Ahlul Sunnah has been, given the green light to be incorporated into Somali government by who? Hassan Sheikh, who helped to rebuild the Galmudug and other regions, Hassan Sheikh. So for you to use words like there is a motive to get rid of some leaders like Gorgor, like other regions, because they are pro formaggio, I'm assuming that's where you're heading with the discussion, is again not really credible. And I'll give you a couple of examples. As soon as Hassan Sheikh won the election, the first region that he visited is Konfur and they are number one pro formaggio. Second region he visited was Gorgor's region, Galmudug. And the conversation was, listen, it's not the time to be against each other. It's not the time to be blaming each other. It's the time to come united and get rid of Al-Shabaab. All I want you to do is get rid of in your region anybody that is in Al-Shabaab. I'll give you the ammunition, I'll give you anything that you need, the support, the guidance, the military commanders, the money, everything. And that's what he's not getting. Do you know why they are not stepping forward to help the government? Because they are asking some sort of blackmailing tactics to say, give me money and I will attend or I'll participate in the war. That's not how it should be. If you are a nationalist, if this is your country, it's a problem for all of us. You fight whether you are in Jubaland, Puntland, Galmudug, it doesn't matter. You mentioned two regions, the other regions will follow suit. It's a matter of time. So I would like you to re-strategize your thinking, and I would just say Somalia is for all of us. The government is for us. We don't know what the government is going to do. They are in power for a short period of time. For judgment is like that. For opposition is like that. I just don't think it's a good way to kind of educate the public.
Right. Quays Irby, with all due respect, this is huge in Somalia right now. This is a huge step for Somalis everywhere. This is perhaps the time to analyze what's going on and what's the best way forward in getting rid of Al-Shabaab and those that oppose the nation. One of the things that people used to talk about is there a dialogue going on? What's the plan? Where do we go from here? The clan balance, everyone in Somalia has militias. We're trying to demilitarize the country in terms of collecting ammunition from a clan-based and freelancing militias. But now, yes, there is a big threat called Shabaab, and everyone is united against them. But the strategy is missing here. It's all hands on deck. Everybody pick up whatever weapon you can to go fight on Al-Shabaab. It's contained to certain regions of Somalia. It's not Somalia, South Somalia wide. Why aren't people in Jubaland joining in, or in, as you mentioned, Southwest joining in? So this is what we're discussing. No one is against, I hope, and he said it, that he's not against it. No one should be against it. How could we better utilize this momentum is the basis of this discussion.
I've been just a couple points. First of all, this brother seems to think that Farmajo is still the president of Somalia. He's not. Hassan Sheikh is. And I think we should be analyzing and critiquing and advising Hassan Sheikh if we really sincere about it. If we somehow just so much dislike the previous guy, well, that's a different story, altogether. But the two points that I wanted to mention. One, the notion that Awsley is going to be reintegrated into an army at some later point is a fallacy. It does not work. In fact, if you really think about it, okay, there are so many, stops and sparrows in between Mogadishu and Jowhar, for instance. And these are the people, these are actually folks that are in the payroll at one point of the Somali National Army. And but they were a clan militia one time that somehow they were clan militia first. Then they got supposedly been reintegrated into the army, but it never worked. Right now, Hassan Sheikh and his group is trying to mobilize them and to be able to, but they're not coming. They're not taking directions. They're just that. One last point about the Hassan Sheikh's visit to Baydhabo or Southwest. We all know what the visit was. We forecasted it. If you go back and look at some of those tweets that I have sent out, immediately after he went there, the reason is very obvious. It's just that because the very people that he stuffed in his government, including Robo. By the way, when you say that I've never been in a group, the evidence is overwhelming. So I would appreciate it if you somehow get out of that denial mode of that Al-Shabaab is not in this government. It is. It is very evident. It's very obvious. I gave you names. I gave you the videos and where these people have worked on. If you're saying some people are disputing it, that's a different story. But that's established. So let's get it out of get our selves out of that denial. Now to the Baydabo visit, he visited it there because the very people that the government there or the leader in Southwest was concerned about it. He decided to one of the things that it's very major, problematic in current Somali political infrastructure is so-called these FMS that somehow, and you shouldn't be looking at it whether or the guys that are leading it are from the previous, loyal to the previous government or the current previous government. That's not how it should work. This model is completely broken. Okay, this FMS model, it just doesn't work, no matter who's in charge, whether it's Farmajo or Hassan Sheikh or his predecessor or the guy. This is completely broken. And because the Laftagaran knew Hassan Sheikh and his buddies, his group. By the way, there are two things that are known for Hassan Sheikh, all along in his previous administration. One, likes to collect money for personal use. Second, he's so deep in loyalty into into groups. So these groups that were around Hassan Sheikh, Laftagaran was so concerned about it, he immediately reached out to an Ethiopia. I don't personally endorse that. I think it's very wrong for a regional government. But it is Hassan Sheikh who, for about 5 years, was singing the exact same song in Kismayo and was beating the drum. So the very drum that he was beating in the previous 5 years caught up with him, and Laftagaran was concerned about his group that's around Hassan Sheikh. He reached out to you don't have to take my word for it, bro. You need to be looking at Hassan Sheikh, his own words and his own statements.
With all due respect,
out of this government. So I think I went out on a little bit of tangent. I apologize.
No, that's fine. And this is vigorous, and we need this
right. I think the fundamental point is this, and I'll quit here. I'll end here. The fundamental point is that Hassan Sheikh does have, to his defense, he has some natural issues that are working against him, but he has some fundamental thinking in strategy and an approach to government that is just wrong for the country. Thank you.
You're welcome. And lastly, I'll give it to Qais. Qais, with the 5 minutes left, if you can sum up your address to what Jamal have just said, and that way we can conclude it and further, have discussions planned around this in the near future.
Okay, so I really think we're still in loggerheads and we're still in the same circle. We're not supporters for Hassan Sheikh. We're not against Farmajo, or we don't hate them or we don't dislike them. That, just take that out of the way. We own the country. We are the owners of Somalia. So we are really, here to discuss and debate about something that we saw deeply, into, especially that's where I was born, that's where I belong, that's where I want to end up. Now, my point is, you said there is strong evidence that something like this didn't work, especially it has been attempted in the past between Mogadishu and Jowhar. Just to give you an example, it has worked and it has been successful. I don't know which books or which articles you're reading. I don't know which source of information that you're connected to.
No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interject it, but that's a mischaracterization. What I was talking about between Mogadishu and Jowhar was this
number of stops.
Militia, the number of stops, number of
I am coming to that.
He's paraphrasing, with all due respect to let him finish.
But what you really said is, in terms of taking Ma'awusley into the national army and integrating them into the national army doesn't work, because it's a model that has been attempted before. Hassan Sheikh is failing it. He's inviting them back now and they're not listening. Those are your words. Am I correct?
Well, what I said was that the idea of trying to reintegrate a clan militia after the fact, after they have worked into an army, has not worked. And
okay, fine. That's all I'm trying to respond to. I'll tell you it worked. To give you an example, there is an area called Basra. Al-Shabaab have had a major problems in there. Who is fighting against them? Who do you think is fighting against them?
We just lost 11 Haram folks there. We lost the
major 11. We might have lost 11.
Please let him finish, and we're running out of time.
We might have lost 11, but they have lost 100. I think the calculation speaks by itself. Now, the second point here is, just to answer to your point, there are 10 stops or more between Jowhar and Mogadishu. Non-existent. I don't know where you're getting this information. The army that's been sent from Mogadishu first time came to Dusamareb unchallenged. You need to really listen to the Minister of Interior, who is embracing the armies, because right now the army that is fighting in Galmudug, that is fighting in Hirshabelle, did not come by planes. They did not come by sea or river. They came through the road. This is the first time it's happening. So congratulations to them again. Now, you mentioned Hassan Sheikh is fighting some of tribe militia and they are refusing and so on. You know what? I just don't know. I don't want to be commenting to that, but I'm not aware of it. But the model doesn't work is what I'm after. I will tell you the model works. I'll give you international context. In Iraq, there has been similar issues that has been happening, you know, after the colonial left. Who got rid of them? Similar to Ma'ausley. They have a name called by Tashrim, something like this. I don't quite remember. Tashrim, something like that. It's quite similar model that has fighted against these religious groups that has been using religion as building blocks in order to colonize the public.
If you can sum it up.
That's been gotten.
Yeah.
So
if you save me 30 seconds, I'd like to respond to the Iraq example.
To give you my idea here is very simple.
Without respect, because of the time. Please.
We know the tribe militias can cause problems in very simple area that they are based. We know what we can do or use to get rid of them or to fix the problems. Al-Shabaab is causing the whole Somalia. We have the worst droughts ever in Somalia. People cannot transport food from Mogadishu to somewhere else. There are problems everywhere.
You just told me the road. You just told me the road from Mogadishu to Somalia is non-stop, and a few days ago.
Yes. But what we are talking about, what we are talking about is it's been liberated.
In the interest of time, if you could let me, in the interest of time,
30 seconds, please.
Yeah, in Iraq, there was something called the Sunni Awakening, okay? In the United States of America, the greatest army washed them in a very advanced weapon system, okay? And that weapon system is the very weapon system that the derivative of the group that came after, Al-Qaeda in Iraq or ISIS, okay? That's the very weapon that they use to control over almost all the country, okay? And
thank you for the context, Jamal. We'll have to reschedule this. This is very good, and we need more
thank you
to discuss these issues and perhaps to dive into them. Gentlemen, Quays Irby from London and Jamal Abdullahi from Minneapolis, I both thank you so much for your writings and for participating in this discussion. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I hope Jamal will have a deeper look